What are we cooking today? Well, let me show you. We've got 3 racks of ribs. We did 1 rack on the Yoder pellet smoker, 1 rack on the Komodo Kamado, and 1 rack on the Workhorse 1975. What's up, barbecue fans? Welcome back to Patio. It's an exciting day. We got all 3 smokers fired up, ready to go. I got 3 racks of St. Louis ribs. We're gonna do a good old-fashioned battle video. Now, when we talk battle videos, I don't mean a duel to the death. All of these cookers cook differently. The goal here is to show you what happens when we cook a set of ribs on the Yoder pellet grill, on the Komodo Kamado, and my Workhorse pit. They cook differently. Gonna show you how I set them up, show you how they look, talk about how they taste, and that'll be that. These guys are Berkshire St. Louis style ribs. Now, it is nice, but it's windy out here, that's for sure. I don't want to cut off too much of this. I'm going to leave some of the fat here, let that render out. Just really any straggling pieces here or thin pieces that are going to just burn. This might be the first time I've ever played with the membrane on camera, and it's actually worked. Normally it's a huge fight. And you know, on baby back ribs, I always take them off. St. Louis is hit or miss. Sometimes you can just X them with your knife. It won't hurt you to leave it there and just use your knife and kind of cut through a little bit. Like you can see up here, you know, there's a little bit left. We're just gonna, same with this guy, just gonna leave that there. Now, I did trim off this flap here just a little bit, because it's really hanging down. This one's a lot closer, and I just see a piece that I missed here. Now, normally I've got a rub that I've been using for years from Grill Mates that I absolutely love. I ordered it by the 12s, but we're doing salt and pepper today. And what we're doing here is 16 mesh pepper, no binder. This will be interesting in the wind. Let me just go way ahead of this guy. Diamond kosher salt, and we're doing a little bit of seasoned salt. Everyone seems to be doing that now. I haven't tried it on ribs, tried it on beef. I figure what the heck, we'll try it on some ribs today. I'll put a little of this on here. And I just put it in the smaller bottles so it's easier to deal with. So let's talk about how we're cooking these guys today. I got the Yoder running with pecan pellets. Had a ton of those, so I'm gonna try and burn some of those. I didn't have any oak. I got some white oak in the Workhorse, and I've got oak in the Komodo Kamado. So this is the only difference. Get these guys up on the top rack here. So we're gonna put the ribs right on the top rack, right in the middle. We're rolling at 200 degrees right now. Why am I rolling at 200? I want to give these guys some extra time for some smoke. So we're going to let them go for about 45 minutes, and then I'm going to dial this up to 250. The Komodo Kamado, we're going to go at 250, and this guy, we're going at 275. I'm going to give these guys a head start. These are going to cook the slowest, so I'm going to put these inside and let them sit for about 45 minutes until we throw them on. After 30 minutes, I turn the Yoder up to 250. It's now been 45. We're gonna get these guys on the other smokers. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention is that that rack is actually a lot thinner than these, so it should even out pretty well. Let's get this guy over here. And let's get this rack on. For those of you who don't know, this is 3/8 inch steel, so the lid's quite heavy, so it's really a two-hander, but I only had the back of my knuckle. Put those guys there. And again, we're rocking the Workhorse at 275. the Komodo Kamado at 250, and now the Yoder's up to 250. I'll see you in a little bit. It's been 3 hours and 45 minutes. That means our Yoder ribs have been on for 3 hours and 45 minutes, and the other two have been on for 3 hours. Now, because this rack was so thin, I actually dialed down the temperature back to 225 for the last hour because it was way ahead of everything else. And this guy I bumped up to 275 to catch it up. And this guy, actually we got up to 300 for a little while, so things cooked a little quicker. Now, I could keep my temperatures low and get a little bit more smoke into these guys, but it's getting dark. I haven't had lunch. It's 5:30. Now I'm hungry for dinner. So we're gonna show you what we're working with. As you can see, we've got some great color, got some good pullback on the bones, and they're nice and tender. So these guys are in good shape. Now what we're gonna do here is, in this bottle, I have my barbecue sauce, my favorite barbecue sauce. I get it on Amazon. It's from Canada. It's called Diana sauce, the gourmet version. I'll put a link down below, but this stuff is phenomenal. And what I've done here is I've taken about 3/4 of a bottle of that. Then I put in about 6 tablespoons of honey, and then I put in some maybe 8 tablespoons, probably 6 tablespoons of white vinegar. I didn't realize it until I went to prepare this, but I'm actually out of apple cider. I would have really preferred that, but this will be okay. And the goal here is that I just want to give a sauce and a little bit of a thinner sauce with some vinegar in it to help break these down a little bit further. So what we're going to do here is we are going to squirt this down below, and as you can see, it's pretty runny. And we're going to put a whole bunch here. Now, lots of people put butter. You guys have seen me put beer. I love to put beer in there. It kind of braises it. But I'm going to try something different today. It's actually the first time I've done that. So I'm going to put a little bit on the back, a little bit around the edges here. And if you didn't learn anything else today, one thing you should learn is that you should always use 2 pieces of foil. Last thing you want is bones sticking out. And wrap them tight. Now, as you can see, we've got some pullback as well. Komodo Kamado gives us that advantage where we've got the heat rolling off the top and all that ceramics is firing the heat down, so things tend to cook a little quicker in it. And again, we've got some good bending here, good color, and right away the one thing you know is a little bit darker. Put our sauce on here. And you know, these guys are a little bit darker. Like I said, I got up to about 300 for a little while by mistake. So definitely got a little bit of darkness in there. No big deal, I think they're gonna be okay. This guy's the longest rack. Put these back on. Now, in all 3 cases, we put meat side down. We're gonna let them go for about 30 minutes, and then we're gonna open them up, maybe touch them up with some sauce, and we're gonna give them a try. So I'll admit it, I made a purely selfish decision based on my level of hunger. And what I did is I left these guys on for 45 minutes, then I took them off. Instead of going through the whole process of adding sauce and letting them tack up and then resting, I just rested for 20 minutes. So hopefully I don't regret that decision. We'll see. They are in the same order. We've got the Yoder, we've got Komodo Kamado and the Workhorse. Hopefully, I mean, the taste is going to be the same. I just might not have my picture perfect finish that I'm looking for. We'll see. Well, I'm actually not too disappointed. Let me just touch it up a little bit. Man. As Meat Church would say, I ain't mad at that. They look pretty darn good. So they all look pretty similar. It's all gonna come down to the flavor. I'm done drooling. Let's have a taste. We're gonna cut right inside. And there's our pieces. So, if you look at our pellet grill here, got a pretty good smoke ring. Looks like we got some flavor into it. I can tell that this one's definitely the most tender. Probably actually a little overdone. Komodo Kamado's got great smoke on both sides. With the Yoder, it's more on the top. And our Workhorse has got a super thick top and bottom ring. Texture is probably pretty good on there. Let's try the Yoder first. Oh. Clean bite, but a little bit, it's a little overdone. Not fall off the bone mushy, but a little bit more than we want. Let's try the Yoder or the Komodo Kamado here. That's what we're looking for. Nice clean bite, a little bit of tug. Smoke-wise so far, there's a nice little lingering of smoke in the background there. Remember, we used pecan, so it's like one of the lightest smokes. These guys are using oak, which are a little bit more smokier. And, you know, we know a pellet grill's not going to put as much smoke as these other two. But that's an enjoyable rib. This one, the smoke really steps up, and let's try the Workhorse here. Nice clean bite. Sorry, got some pepper there. Went down the wrong hole. The Workhorse tastes great, right? Offset cooking. It's the king of cooking. There's a reason for it. Now, the smoke is, it gets a little deeper into the meat, but it's a little smoother. All we've got is smoke, wood flavor going into there. So definitely is a little bit smoother, if that makes sense to you. I can't think of another way to describe it, but you know, no matter what you're eating, if you got any of this at a restaurant, you're gonna love it. Can't go wrong with the Yoder. I've had lots of ribs, or sometimes I just don't feel like babysitting, and these ribs turn out great, right? Other than the fact that these ones are a little bit overdone, you still got some smoke flavor in there. Using that low temperature really helps get some smoke into the rib and still turn out a good product. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap. The Yoder ribs, we put them in at 200 for the first 30 minutes. Then I turned it up to 250. We went until about the 2-hour mark. And then I noticed, because it's such a thin rack of ribs, this is hands down the thinnest, that these were cooking a little too quickly. We backed it down to 225 for another hour. Then I dialed it back up to 250 to get ready for the wrap. 3 hours and 45 minutes, we wrapped this. Now, in hindsight, if I had wrapped them probably around the 3 hours and 15 minutes, they would have had a little bit more of the chew and texture that we're looking for. Great to look back and figure out what you did that you can improve on next. The Komodo Kamado We started at 250, and when this guy jumped up to over 300 for a little bit there, I decided to bump this up to 275. So we ran about 250 for the first hour and a half, and then I cranked it up to 275. And then 3 hours in, we wrapped. This guy, we were trying to run at 275. We got up to 300 for a little bit there. More than a little bit, actually, probably about 30 minutes, to be honest. We still ran for 3 hours. Now, the interesting thing here is I didn't spray these. I didn't touch them, really didn't even look at them. I just let them go. We got our moisture from our little barbecue honey sauce vinegar that we made up. That pulled the moisture. These are not dry at all. So, didn't need to spritz it all. Then once these guys were all done, we mixed up our barbecue sauce. It was really 3/4 barbecue sauce, 1/8 honey, and 1/8 white vinegar. I would prefer to use apple cider vinegar, but I didn't have any. And it really thinned out that sauce. We sprayed it on the bottom, wrapped these guys up super tight. We put them back in at 250. They were all at 250 for another 40 minutes. Let them sit for 20, and we're tearing into them. They turned out great. If you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. Do new videos every weekend. I'll see you soon.